Hey guys, it's me again, the dad. So, how y'all doing? And I don't know who's watching these or anything, but it looks like they're getting some views. So, if you want, you can let me know, and that way I don't, I'll know who not to worry about keeping it a secret from or anything. But well, it's kind of funny because Joshua came to the house yesterday and he had taken this picture of him, like a contemplative picture of him on top of Pinnacle, like Pinnacle Rock, I think is what he said he called it. And as he blew up the picture, he was like, "Look," and he had it was me, one of these videos, and he goes, "It's a higher level of understanding." Kind of funny. Um, Also, I heard Nathan got golf club. I didn't hear it. He showed me. He goes, "Dad," he goes, "I spent $1,000, but you might be okay with it," or something like that. It was pretty funny. Not like he was asking for permission to spend his own money, but it was one of those things where, because well, when he and I talk, we talk about things like upgrading his PC or a motorcycle or a car or something like that. And he was like, "Here, I'm just going to show you," and he took her, turned the WhatsApp viewer on and showed me his golf clubs, and it was pretty cool. I was impressed. I'm excited for him. In fact, I sent him some golf tees as well. When I was an avid golfer, haven't done it in quite a while, and that's kind of the story. Like my hobbies is kind of what we're going to talk about today. That's on the list. Things I did, and I've covered some of that stuff, and maybe in my childhood and things like that. But anyways, when I was golfing a lot, I got down to like tee preferences. They make little wooden ones or plastic ones and stuff like that. But I found these called the martini, and because basically it looked like a little martini glass. It was like literally the martini glass, thick plastic, and it got to be where in my research I found that with the wider base and everything, it held the ball more solidly to minimize spin. Because you don't want a lot of spin on a drive. The less spin it has, the farther it goes and the straighter it goes. At least that's the science from when I was golfing a lot. But so I ordered some of those for him because if he's getting into it, you got to start off with the right tees. Anyway, but I thought that was funny that he's getting into golf because ever since that kid was little, he just had the most natural swing. He looked so good. I got pictures of him. I may try to find one and insert it in this little video. But he and both Jesse just took a natural, I wouldn't say liking to it, but they were naturally inclined to have a decent little golf swing. In fact, I mean, all the kids that tried it were fairly successful for not ever playing, save one. And she knows who she is. And honestly, too, her swing was great. She just missed the ball and got so mad. So we were at a driving range, or were we at that top or the first tee place? I can't. I think it was the driving range though, and I'm just gonna tell you who it was. It was Laura, and Laura got it, and she got a good little swing, lots of speed. Whoosh! She got over that ball. She stood over the ball, lined up. Whoo! Missed everything. Missed the earth. She missed earth with her swing. And then she did it again, and again, and again, and again. And I said, "Honey, just hit the ground. If you just hit the ground," she swung again. Oh, it's not funny to you, I'm sure, and especially not funny to Laura if she's seeing this. But she got pretty upset, but we laugh about it now. It was, oh, I mean, she missed the big ball, the earth. And Oh, she was pressured. I think if she would have stuck with it, I mean, she's a natural athlete, anyways. She would have been amazing at it. She just got very frustrated very quickly and knew that's something that she didn't like. But anyhow, since we're on that subject, um, growing up, uh, you know, I growing growing up for me as a kid is a lot different than when my kids were growing up. I've told you before, my dad was in the Air Force. We were latchkey kids. Mom and dad wasn't around a whole bunch. My dad never took me aside and talked to me about the deep things of life or anything like that. Um, he never pushed me at anything really, even never told me of any of the importance of really trying hard. Um, and I may have a slight little tangent and go off and tell you about how I learned some things, where that came about. In fact, I'm going to do that right now because I feel like that's kind of important because I think of all the things in your life that you're going to encounter, good friends and mentors, and I think I mentioned those in the past videos, are critical. And I told you about the one that talked about work and everything and a work-life balance. And I don't know if I mentioned these, but I'm gonna do that. Well, I got my first job. I think I was 16. Just got my car, that green Granada. I mentioned that before, and I got my first job at Red Lobster. I wasn't even like a waiter or a busboy. I was a host. And what you do as a host is you stand up at the front, and what a host is, but I'm going to tell you some of maybe the stuff you don't know about it because it's more complicated than first. My thing is messing up here, but it's more complicated than you might think. Not really. So you stand in the front. You know what servers are available, and each server is assigned a station. And so what you want to do is you want to rotate them. Rotate people as they come in, so you don't like seat Jennifer over here with 6 people, and then these other people are doing nothing, and Jennifer's drowning and providing bad service, right? So you've got to bounce it to Jennifer, then Jimmy, then John, then Julia, then Jehoshaphat. You kind of like go around and balance it. Well, when it's real busy, sometimes you'll get maybe Jennifer, and then you'll go through the cycle, and then you do Jennifer again before she can take care of it, and that's called double seating. And one time I had done that at Red Lobster, and Barbara was her name, this waitress lady, just real. Anyways, Barbara, I double sat her, and she came out, and she was cussing me out. Double seating, get to my customers, you go get them water. And so I did, and there was a guy that worked there also as a host named Bill Pritchett. This guy taught me the gift of brown nosing. Essentially, I didn't even know how to talk to customers that came in. I would, just be, hi, how many are, okay, 5, just a minute, and I would walk back and get it, which sounds, maybe me saying that, not that big of a deal. But Bill, he was like, well, hello, sir. How are you doing this evening? Oh, your family looks terrific. Are you going to be dining with us tonight? Oh, really? How many of them, how many do you have here? And then he said, 6, oh, you guys look fantastic. All right, hold on a second. And he wasn't like being like I was right there, kind of like, oh, well. It was like he was super sincere. I don't even think I can do it like he did it. He goes, oh, okay. He was kind of like almost the cross between a valley guy, like that, but polite, just super, super polite. And I saw what happened when he was like that. The customers responded very well to it. He was taking care of customers. Um, it was the first time that I've ever seen someone adjust themselves to make someone else feel different. You know, I was always up to the 16, just me. I'm like, it's me, my, you know, that kind of thing. And he was like putting himself out in a very professional manner and seeing these people. So I took to that pretty readily because I saw his success. And so I tried to mimic that. And over the years, I got, you know, reviews and stuff at work and places like that. But I would always get a pretty good score when it came to relates with others or taking care of customers or whatever. It actually helped me quite a bit on job interviews, on job performance. Sorry, I was just thinking of something else. A story, tangent, that happened while I was working at Red Lobster. And I think I've told all you guys this before, but it's a story worth telling again. Well, in my mind, I had a friend named Chuck. He worked there also, but he was a cook. He was in the back. He was riding a scooter, I think, at the time. Or no, it was a really chintzy small motorcycle, is what it was. And he was coming into work, and it's a busy road. It's over there by, used to be by the big Chevy dealership right on the corner where 121 and 183 are. I can't remember the name of the roads. Hudeberg Chevrolet is what it was called. And it was a huge one. But anyways, it was real busy right there, a lot of crossroads, lots of traffic, right near a freeway, that kind of stuff. In any case, he's coming in, he stopped at a light, and I just know all this from him telling me this. He stopped at a light, and a guy walks up to him and starts asking him questions. And he says, "Hey, will you give me a ride?" And Chuck's like, "Okay, I'll give you a ride." So he gives him a ride, and he says, "Look, I'm going to work, and I'm going to go to Red Lobster." And he goes, "Okay, that's okay." So he rides to Red Lobster, he brings that dude with him, and he says he turned around, the guy got off, the guy goes, boink, right in his eyes. Like, he's like, oh, he had like black eyes for a few days after that. I mean, it wasn't funny at the time, really. But the dude was on something. He boinked him in the eyes, and I was seating people already. I was already on the job. And I'm standing there, and this guy is standing at this table, and I thought, oh, this person knows these people sitting at the table. He's over there talking to them, and I'm about to walk by, and the guy goes, "Excuse me, sir," and he's talking to me. I'm like, "Yes, sir." And he goes, "Can you help us out here?" And I'm like, "Yeah, what's going on?" And the guy goes, right at that point, the dude looks, he goes, "Is there any alcohol in this?" And he's holding he's grabbed a water off their table. He says, "Is there any alcohol in this?" And I was like, I was lost. I was like, "What's going on?" And then he grabs the glass, he throws it on the ground, psh, it breaks everywhere. He goes, "Grab the horses, we're going out the back." And he runs out of the restaurant. We're all just kind of standing there looking at each other like, what the heck just happened? Yeah, that was... And then we, after that, everything got played back because I talked to Chuck and stuff, and he told me the story afterward. But yeah, that was pretty exciting. And then Chuck stopped talking to me shortly after that because he had a flat tire. We were in... So when you pulled up to Red Lobster, there was an awning, and he was under there. We're fixing a flat tire, and we're jacking it up, and he's grabbing the tire, and he's got his arm underneath there, and the car slips off the jack. And he's like, "Ah!" He's got his arm under there. He had some bad luck. And I'm freaking out. I'm like, "Oh," and I'm thinking, oh, maybe I could get super strength or something. I tried to pick the car up off his arm. He's like, "Ah." And so I reached down and got the jacket, got it up as fast as I could, and he got his arm out, and he was in a sling for a while. But Red Lobster was not good to him. But anyways, I guess he thought I did that or something because he never talked to me about that again after that. Uh, and yeah, Chuck, if you ever see this, I'm sorry. I didn't push it. I didn't touch it. I was just trying to help. Anyway, that's kind of funny. Red Lobster, some good times, you know. There was also a girl I had a crush on there that was worked there, 16-year-old, you know. I had a crush on one of the waitresses, and I remember it was my birthday, and she was going to give me a kiss, and I was like, oh, like I backed up and scared her off, and then she wanted to have nothing to do with me either. So, you know, I'm full of you know, I guess, what do you call it? Charisma. Anyhow, where was I? Hobbies and stuff. So, hobbies, but then, oh yeah, the mentors. So the whole girlfriend kissing thing and how manners, essentially, I didn't have them. Didn't understand them. Didn't understand how you treat other people. You know, except now I can say, yes, sir. How many people? Fast forward no, it wasn't even a couple of years, about a year. I met a guy. We hit it off at school. We were good friends. Did everything together. He showed me Sabateo. We found out we both loved guitar. He played guitar. I played guitar. We would go to music stores together and sit there for hours dreaming about, you know, oh man, I want that Gibson Les Paul, you know. Then we went on a double date. He was in love with this girl that had a boyfriend, but her boyfriend was married. And she was waiting, and the guy, this is true, guys. So the girl he liked, Wendy, we'll just call her Wendy, had a boyfriend who had a wife who was terminally ill. Yeah, you can't make this up. Wendy was waiting for the girl to die so she could be with him, but in the meanwhile was allowing Victor, that guy's name is Victor, who is a really good friend of mine, Victor, to date her and take her places and be nice to her and spend his money on her and stuff, essentially. And he did. I think he thought he could win her over because Victor was a classy guy. His relationship with his parents went way beyond, you know, just showing up and being there. Ralph is his dad's name. And his mom was just always real sweet. I'd go over there. She's the nicest lady. Their whole family was, like his dad was in the FBI, and they lived in Bolivia for a while. And, you know, he's told, again, my thingy-majiggy cut off, so I don't know where I was. But Victor told me stories about living in Colombia. It was Colombia, not Bolivia. It was one of the two. I don't really remember. Not important to this story. But like getting shot at in the back of a van with his dad driving and stuff like that. Kind of crazy. But anyhow, he had a relationship with his dad where they, you know, talked about stuff and did things. So he understood the importance of being a gentleman, which I was like the opposite of that. You know, again, I'm naive. I don't know if I remember telling you the story about knocking on doors and what I called it in front of my friend who was black, who was no longer my friend after that. Anyway, the double date taught me a lot. Well, Victor taught me a lot. So we're sitting there at a table, and I don't know, I don't have manners at this point. And Victor, he's like, I mean, he's schmoozing Wendy, and he's like, oh yeah, and we ordered fajitas, and I'm sitting there, I'm grabbing food, and I'm like getting ready to, you know, chow down, and Victor's like grabbing this stuff, and he's putting it on Wendy's like tortilla and grabbing stuff. Hey, would you like some of this? I'm like going, and I'm looking at, her name was Annette, and she was sitting next to me, and I don't think she was expecting me to do the same thing, but Victor goes, looking at me, and I was like, what? And he's like giving me the nods and stuff, and so I do that. I do a little bit better. We talk a lot. Anyways, the night's over. We're going home. Don't feel a lot like Annette and I hit it off. I mean, we talked and stuff, but um, so we're driving home, and so the night's over. Annette gets out of the car. See ya. I'm sitting in the car. This is really cringy even to say, but Victor's like, Mike, get in there. Go talk, walk her to the door. And so I was like, oh crap. So I get out of the car and I walk. By that time it was blown. There was no hope for any romantic ideas. Not like there would have been anyways. I don't think we hit it off that way. I tried calling her a bunch of times, not a bunch of times, but several times after that. And it seemed like we would talk for quite a while, but, yeah, that just like baseball in the front yard. One day that ended, and I think that could not have been a better thing for both of us. But in any case, yeah, he talked to me some after that. We talked about manners and opening doors for ladies and stuff like that, which was super impactful in my life. To recognize that other people need to be treated well. But it's important that we have those, we're not blind to those folks around us who can give us that same kind of mentorship. I know a big thing on social media now, people talk about your friend group, and if you have 9 friends who are successful, you're going to be the 10th, that kind of thing. And there's a lot of truth in that. Just like all the guys that I grew up with, the things that we all did together, and we all tried to get better at those things, whether it be tennis court football at 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever. We were out there, we were working hard, we were trying to do better. All of us were trying to get better at it, lift each other up and push each other more, laugh a lot, that kind of stuff. But that kind of stuff is important, and it doesn't have to be a huge friend group. Like I said, Bill Pritchett, I mean, we just kind of knew each other from Red Lobster, and we were going to Wet and Wild one time, and he had a girlfriend that he'd had since he was like a freshman or something like that. Amy was her name. And I was driving my green Granada, and we were going to Wet and Wild. So we were driving down, was it 183 to get to 360 to go to 30? I think Interstate 30 to get to Wet and Wild, because I believe Wet and Wild was on Interstate 30. And there was a backup, and it was sudden. And I slammed on my brakes. The dude, everybody slammed on their brakes. It was one of those chain events. I slammed on, didn't hit the dude in front of me, in the back, bap, hit us. And, the Granada cars back then were built out of steel. I mean, there wasn't much. I mean, it demolished, up to my trunk, took out my right rear light, dented it up there pretty good. But I didn't even think to see if everybody was okay. I kind of hopped out of the car, and the only person I did the thing was I introduced myself to the dude that hit us. Like, hi, I'm Mike. How are you? Cause that was my Bill Pritchett thing. I'm like gonna be nice guy. Is there, I'm smiling and like, well, what are you doing? I was kind of like in shock a little bit, but I remember that pretty clearly. The guy's like looking at me when he shook my hand. He was like really limp wristed, and I was like really weird. Probably because he was like, "What is this guy doing?" But turns out Amy got whiplash a bit, and I didn't even think to say, "Hey, should we call an ambulance? Is everyone okay?" That kind of thing. It's so amazing how fast you flip to just yourself and thinking of things just for you, or me in that case, right? But it's the things we learn in life. So if I were to say anything to you or give you any kind of advice, I would say be aware of others And, when scripture talks about treating another as you would want to be treated, it takes effort. It takes thoughtfulness outside yourself. And that's it's pretty critical, I think, in life, to be sweet to other people. But anyways, that's my tangent on mentors and things like that. So I was in the Cub Scouts for a little while. Went, I guess, 1 year of Weeblo and didn't even finish that. But my dad took it pretty seriously that we were competitive in all the events. The Pinewood car derby. When you take a block of pine, and my dad built mine. He just took it. I entered 2 years in a row. I entered that, and I didn't win the first year. My dad figured out a lot of stuff. This next year, I was winning everything. The car Dad built, it wasn't my car, but the car that Dad built was like whoosh, right down the road. In the final run, and I had to run way more runs than anyone else. I don't know what the heck that was about, because my dad was pretty livid about that, because he lost. But what happened was, we were going down on the very last run. This is for all the marbles, first through third place, and there's 4 cars that go round down each other. My car got close to the bottom, was winning, skipped the track, jumped off the thing. I finished 4th, didn't get a little trophy or nothing. My dad was like, "What?" He wasn't like super mad at anybody, but he thought it was pretty unfair. Like when I think it's unfair that one of my kids doesn't get to kick the field goal as the field goal kicker, and because of some other circumstance, they're going to let this other kid. And I know several of my kids think that's the stupidest thing ever, but I want you to remember that if any injustice comes to your kid, and I pray that you handle it better than I did. I'm sure you will, but it's hard. It's hard when you see injustices done to the things that you love the most, and that kind of ties in with the whole, thinking of your outside yourself. That's why I'm thinking a lot of folks don't understand what love is until they have a kid. Like, not even your wife or husband. I mean, you think you love them, but you don't know the depth of love until you and your wife with God's help, create another human, and it comes out, and it is the most precious. Every one of them that come out are the most precious, wonderful things ever. Like, there's not one of mine that I don't like. They're just, at that point, you start to understand what love really is. A lot of talk about taking a bullet for your wife or whatever, and if they don't have kids, I don't believe them. They're all just romancy, goo goo gaga kind of love. But when you have a kid and then people say it, they understand. That's all my opinion, but they get it. They get what taking a bullet really means. So much so that I would and did, I feel, risk my future relationships with my kids because I wanted them to be prepared for life. Like I wasn't, And I guess that's the demise and the famous last words of every crappy dad. I want them to have what I couldn't have, but that's I don't care what they have. I mean, I want them to do well, obviously, but I want them to be functional in life and not afraid of life and not afraid of, taking it on. And the big thing, and this is the thing that I was like, and not be surprised by what life does and how it treats you, because I know Nobody thinks that at a young age. Oh, hold on, let me call you back. Well, that was a phone call I had to take. But I was saying that the risk of damaging future relationships for the sake of preparing my kids to do better, have better, and mainly be prepared. And my example is, and it's probably not the best example, but it is what it is. I remember, and I think I've actually shared this story, but I would work with Christian in soccer a lot and make him mad. And as he was getting, I think he was like 11 or 12 or 13, he was like just way better than me at that point. And so in order for me to be competitive, I was like, well, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to do like they do in the pros and stuff and grab his shirt and pull on him and stuff. And he would get so mad and say, Dad, they don't do that. They do. They do that. But he was mad about it, and that's it's kind of like a silly story about it. But at the same time, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about is risking the anger and disappointment of, I must say it, your naive kids, because as brilliant as all mine are, and I really think they are all pretty special, maybe not in math, but some of them are good in math. But the risking the immediate friendship, which in reality there's probably shouldn't be. There's not really friendship as parents. You're not a friend to your kid. You're a parent to your kid. And so, and furthermore, I think I took it too far, just to be fair, because how my history with everybody, mainly the boys, but it was, I'm not trying to look for forgiveness or anything like that. I really think at that time I was doing the right thing, but willing to risk my relationship to make sure you were way prepared. And let me I'm going to finish this one up because this one's getting long again. But the other day I was giving the little boys their haircuts, and I know I just had everybody go into a PTSD trauma when I said haircuts, and they remembered how their haircuts were. But these, as we all change, and I got a little bit better at it over, the many years, their haircuts are a little bit better than the haircuts. Not much, but a little bit better. But anyways, I was sitting there and I asked one of them, I said, hey, what's your favorite memory? And he looked at me and he was stuck. Literally 3 minutes of silence. And I'm like, so I asked, I said, you not have any? He goes, no. He goes, I've got a lot and it's hard to try to pick my favorite. And I was like, well, that's good. Thinking, and his favorite was, and I've already told Joshua this, but his favorite was playing Nerf guns with Joshua when Joshua chases him around the house. And this is recent. This is, within the last year or two, and he said, and also, or even when he was coming at us with the slingshot and the eraser. So Joshua tormenting the boys, but that turned into a really good memory. And it was like one of those things like, oh, the fear and everything was like legit, but it was in fun love, and they knew they weren't in real danger, but the anticipation of the pain and everything, I guess, made it, intense for them. But it was a memory for them, and that made me smile. I thought, oh, that's awesome. But of course, if I ask, what's your favorite, I have to ask, well, what's your least favorite memory? And for both of the little boys, I am their least favorite memory. And I bet that if I ask any of my kids their least favorite memory, I'm going to be involved in that. And it's kind of a bum deal for the dad, I think. Well, I don't know, because I didn't do it right. I mean, I'm not trying to say that I did do it right, but I think I should get at least not an F based on we were trying to cover something worth covering. So maybe a D minus. But, they remember the actions, and I think the trauma is someone that they trust getting that upset with them makes it so probably I'm not trustworthy to them. Are you kidding me? Okay, so got interrupted. Had to come eat some food. And you know what's weird is, this is totally off the track, is look at this. I went to a place called Ollie's yesterday and I bought these. And some of you know what those are. Some of you don't. They're CDs, right? Well, I'm like, oh yeah. It was $2.99 for this Garth Brooks compilation. $2.99. But what I really wanted out of it was his live thing, because I heard he puts on a pretty good concert. And plus, looking at it, there was a lot of songs that I knew on it. I don't have a CD player. There's nothing I can play that on. Maybe I could put it on the Xbox or something, but isn't that weird how technology comes, goes, and everybody makes the shift, makes the adjustment? Diet Dr. Pepper. Well, zero sugar Dr. Pepper. Boom. It's actually kind of gross, but I've learned to like it. I guess that's how you guys do coffee and wine and whiskey and stuff. Just learn to deal with it because it's not water, and I don't always like drinking water. But back to my point, I'm not looking for grace because of my mistakes or in spite of my mistakes. I mean, I can tell you I wish I didn't do it. And by the way, if someone wants to buy that for $200,000, please do. Get it out of my yard. I would like to go back and do it differently. I just, I can't. And so I kind of just have to, I'm not trying to say what I did was right or explain it away or justify it. I'm really just trying to give you guys what my mindset was and let you know. I mean, I was pretty ignorant as a youngin'. And so it kind of like made me think a second ago after I got off my phone conversation is, would you rather, and Christian likes playing that game, would you rather have a dad who was young and intense and did all the things that you wanted to do, like play soccer with you and jog with you in the morning or whatever? Or would you rather have a dad who was older and learned those things, still kind of has intensity, but not the same repercussions, let's say, and then he can't do as many things or doesn't do as many things because he just doesn't, I don't know, I just don't put the time into it like I used to. Maybe because I've learned that it's irrelevant in some regard. Like my kids didn't grow up to be pro soccer players, even though they probably could have. So the time that we put into it, was it wasted time? I don't think it was wasted time, but it definitely wasn't, I guess even quality time, really, because no one really remembers anything about it. The years of coaching or my licensing and coaching or, whatever. But, which would you rather? Or option C, your mom ditch your dad and get a better one. But I don't know. But anyway, so my hobbies, this is where we kind of all started. I loved playing guitar. I loved football, baseball, softball, disc golf, pickleball. What else? Seems like there was more things that I kind of got carried away. And right now I'm into chess as a hobby. I play with a friend, Bruce Fowler, who's basically beaten me 100 times to my 3 or 4 victories. He's really good, and I have a lot of fun playing against him. And then when we get together, we're always like, he's always, but I deserve it. Yeah, so to end the hobby thing and end this video, I wish if I could have done things differently, I would have tried harder. Like I look at how I play guitar right now. I play guitar well enough to get by, I think, for what it's needed for. But I'm not. I mean, I wish I was a virtuoso, where you get on it and you're like, and somebody plays something and it's like an afterthought. You're just all over it, understanding music to the nth degree. Yeah, I don't have that. I wasn't ever a professional football player. Although, that's one of the things I would lay in bed and think about. And of all the things that I kind of worked on outside of the time of doing it, like that's what I get onto my kids about, is like everything. I mean, my youngest kids, is they don't ever do anything outside of practice. And then just recently, my son's on the B team. There's a good team and a bad team, and your youngest brother is on the B team, but he's playing good. I posted some of that stuff on Facebook. He's like hitting it, and he got a touchdown, just all kinds of fun stuff. And the coach, so they play a game first, and then the good team plays. And I asked, are we allowed to leave? And, because watching other kids play, not interested. Just not. I'm not into the whole team thing for the sake of the team. I am there for my kid, and to evaluate, to put a game plan into place to say what we could do better, what needs to be worked on. I enjoy watching them succeed. That's a lot of fun. But anyways, I said, hey, are we good to go? And so I walked over there. He asked the coach, and the coach said, well, Bennett, if you're gone, I can't ever put you in on the other team. And he says, so do you want to leave? And Benson goes, okay, bye. He left. That did not make me happy at all. I don't know where I failed in the pursue better speeches. But the older boys will be happy to know that I didn't do my typical, what? That didn't happen. And I don't know if I feel good about that. Because I don't know if he understands, if you want to get good at something, you got to put in the time, you got to put in the effort, you got to desire to be better, all that. And I know I can hear my oldest son now, it doesn't matter, who cares? And he's probably right, but I care. I want all you guys to be the best. And I don't know, maybe that's a wrong mindset. Something I have to still grow into. Maybe correct, but anyhow, so yeah, those are my hobbies. I'm not good at any of them, but I do get immersed in them. And I don't know why hobbies is even on there, but I don't know. So there you go. Maybe a little bit more about me. So again, sorry for my errors of my youth and errors of my current. I still make these mistakes, but I just love. That's okay. I love you guys, and I want the best for you, and I want you to be the best. If you don't want to be the best, it's okay, but I wish you would. So there. Love you. Bye.